Tons of games are released that are hyped beyond belief. Some of them live up to it, but some don't. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the 10 most disappointing big games of the last 10 years. Just a quick disclaimer, these games aren't necessarily bad. Some of them definitely are, but others are good games that just are definitely not what they were hyped to be. You'll be able to tell the difference pretty quick, but we just wanted to say that off the top. Starting off at number 10, Fable 3. If anything, this is actually the reason for that disclaimer. Fable 3 is, for all intents and purposes, a really good game. It's just definitely not what they said it was going to be. Really, any of the Fable games kind of follow the pattern of Peter Molyneux really hyping the hell out of it, and then it just kind of being a basic RPG. Now for me, these are like really good basic RPGs, but they're not super innovative. They're charming, they're very funny, their visuals are extremely appealing. The third time around, the story is kind of predictable, but whatever. You know basically what you're getting with the Fable game by the third Fable. And you got it. And that's not necessarily bad, it's just every time it was supposed to be a revolution. And although the game got better, it was still kind of the same game 3 times. And trust me when I say I enjoyed it, and I would probably play the game a 4th time if they made the scenario just different enough. I mean, the first time around, yeah, cool, good bad choices. Third time around, I kind of just am there for the charm. Again, there's a lot of the charm, but it was disappointing. And moving on to number 9, it's
I am the Duke. I am A number 1.
Now that we got the good game out of the way that just wasn't what it was promised to be, let's talk about Duke Nukem Forever. Duke Nukem Forever was in development hell for a very long time. Duke Nukem 3D was a tremendously successful game, and in all honesty, it brought a lot of cool improvements to the first-person shooter genre as a whole. So in 1997, they started making the sequel. And when you play that game in 2011, you can tell that they started working on it in 1997. Is it the biggest train wreck of all time? No, but it's a pretty big one. Like the humor, let's just go ahead and say, fits right in with the 1990s. Duke Nukem 3D, of course, was a tremendous hit in 1996. It was very edgy. It was at times very funny. But Duke Nukem Forever basically makes all the same jokes, which is, I mean, I rarely like it with sequel movies that come out a few years from each other, and the time between these games was significant. It just didn't work. Adding to the fact that it was kind of just a basic Halo-type first-person shooter, which is also kind of weird considering Duke Nukem 3D was a Doom-like game. Also, Halo Combat Evolved was a decade old at the time Duke Nukem Forever came out. To basically rip that game off, in a lot of respects, including the 2 gun carrying, it felt really dumbed down, and it really wasn't polished, especially for a game that had been in development that long. And on at number 8, the Game of Thrones RPG. This game came out in 2012, and it doesn't look like a game from 2012. It's fairly cheap looking. And here's the problem. In all aspects but the story, that's exactly what it is. Very cheap. The plot was actually pretty alright. It just doesn't stand up to any of its competition as far as mechanics or graphics or, well, anything but the story. It's a parallel story to the first season of Game of Thrones, and it was written in conjunction with George R.R. Martin. So it's kind of hard to be overly critical of the story. It's good. It's not fun at all, nor is it worth looking at. In all honesty, this could have been a book, would have been a better thing, which sucks because Game of Thrones at the time, I mean, this was long before the terrible last season, way back when it was really good, it was just begging for a nice deep RPG. It did not get it though. And number 7 is Aliens Colonial Marines. Let's just go ahead and say this title got lied about a lot over the 6-year alleged development cycle. One of the big lies, of course, is the development cycle itself. According to someone at Timegate, the company that actually made the game, Gearbox handed over a bunch of assets with no real rhyme or reason as to exactly how it all came together. And over the course of 9 months, they made a game out of it. Yes, a developer of the game on the team that actually made the game Not the team that was hired to make the game, but the team that studio outsourced the work to. They said they were given a bunch of crap and told to make a game out of it in 9 months. So, 6-year development cycle. Second biggest lie is the demo that they put out showing the game. Now, it's customary to put out a demo that's not optimized to run on consumer PCs. That's not abnormal. However, the game looked so much better in the demo than the game ever looked on anyone's PC actually playing. And while the demo was not a wreck, the actual game was a wreck in every possible way. At number 6, speaking of downgrades, let's talk about Watch Dogs the original. Probably one of the most notoriously downgraded games out there. The original Watch Dogs does the stunningly bad thing of having a beautiful demo and having a very dull not demo. I mean the amount of shaders and effects and general atmosphere, it's literally just gone in the main game. And over the years, people have tried to prove that it's not actually downgraded, it's just weather conditions and things like that. But then a modder figured out that all of that stuff, all of the nice atmospheric effects, all the explosions, all the shaders, it's all actually still in the game's files. And they made a mod that reactivated them, which is weird. Like, why wasn't that stuff just available on the PC at least? Combine that with all the problems that the game has, the pretty bad dialogue, the artificial intelligence that you can't really call intelligent in any way, the amount of invisible walls. They definitely cleaned stuff up with the second game, but yikes. The first one is just not enough. At number 5 is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. Oof. Remember when all we wanted was another Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game? Remember how good all the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games are? Yeah. It is with a heavy heart I bring up Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, which is aesthetically certainly a Tony Hawk game. It's got Tony Hawk's name on it. It's a skateboarding game. The controls are vaguely similar. I mean, enough that it's identifiably supposed to be a Tony Hawk game, but it's bad. This was a game that came out on Xbox One and PS4, and the graphics were, very PlayStation 2-like. A lot of people actually called them inferior to the graphics on the original games, which is not good. Probably my biggest gripe about this game is that the new stomp function was assigned to the grind button. So you did both with the same button, and the game couldn't tell which one you were trying to do when you're in the middle of a combo, so you'd be stomping a lot instead of grinding. But it's also bland and empty. There's no NPCs. It's buggy. You could honestly go on for a very long time about the faults in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. Number 4 is Mighty Number 9, which is probably one of the bigger ones on this list, honestly. Mighty Number 9 was, of course, a Kickstarter darling, with Kaiji Inafune, one of the original artists on the original Mega Man, being the primary name behind the project. He was the director as well, obviously. And all of us were really excited, really happy to give money to the project, making it happen. We saw so much concept art, we saw footage, we saw stuff that made this look like the ultimate return to a Mega Man style that Capcom unfortunately seemed unwilling to do at the time. And, wow, the game is not good. If you're particularly interested, go back a couple of years. I was the one who did the before you buy on this one. It's just, it doesn't feel like it goes with itself. Some bits of the game seem like they are sort of classic Mega Man-ish. Some bits seem later, some just don't seem consistent with Mega Man art style at all. The levels are badly designed, bosses are boring and repetitive. There's pretty much no charm in any aspect of it. It never makes you be like, I like it. And it's the kind of game that should do that, frankly. So when it doesn't, it's just like, what did I even buy this for? At number 3 is Anthem. Oh, Anthem. You looked so cool. We loved your robot suits. We loved your flying around some jungle sort of hybrid mashup planet. The concept sounded so cool, but there was that nagging live services little splinter that I'd stepped on more than a couple of times at that point. In theory, it basically delivers on the things it claims it will, but it just, I don't know, it's not what it should be. Like, even in terms of a looter shooter with some sci-fi elements, it's just not there. There's not really much to it. There's a lot of cool ideas, but they never really get beyond that stage. And don't get me wrong, there's aspects of it that are fun. I do like flying around in Anthem, but you can't just do that. That wouldn't be a game, or enough of a game anyways. And moving on to number 2, Fallout 76. I feel like I could just repeat the titles for about a minute straight now that we're up in these top tier disappointments, and you just be like, yup, yeah, Fallout 76. Wow. Basically everything you like about Fallout, it's not there. I mean, aesthetically, it's there. You're wearing a jumpsuit. You come out of a vault. In a lot of ways, the environment is pretty cool. There's not a lot of the Fallout world that has vegetation, so that was really neat. That's about it. A minute is not long enough to cover all of the flaws with Fallout 76, but the best way to describe them is that Fallout 4 is at least a quality game, and while I may think that earlier entries in the series are better, it retained everything that made people love Fallout. It had a story, it had NPCs, it had progression, real progression. And although, yeah, I guess co-op would be cool in Fallout 4, when you hear about Fallout 76, you think, well, that could work. Except once you start playing it, you realize, no, it can't. It cannot work. Add that to all of the nonsense that they tried to fleece everybody with. The merchandise, the DLCs, the premium monthly subscription service in a game you paid $60 for. Oh my god. Fallout 76. And finally, number 1, Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, we've all played the Mass Effect series, right? We all know it's a damn good series. There is a case to be made against the ending of the game. It was kind of fixed after the fact, but it certainly wasn't enough to say the games were bad. Mass Effect Andromeda, on the other hand, is a game where you take off to find a new home for humanity in the middle of war where everybody needed to fight. All hands on deck, everybody, there's a huge threat in the Reapers. Yeah, no, we're gonna go colonize some other galaxy. Let's dedicate a ton of resources towards that, eh? So you basically go steal some planets. Oh, I'm sorry, cohabitate on the planets. Oh, and you know how it's a game that came out after Mass Effect? All 3 Mass Effect games? And generally games have better graphics when that happens. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it didn't. Everybody's face in that game looked like it got hit with a frying pan just before they walked on camera. And everything about the game was bland and boring, and it was really hard to get engaged with it in any way. Which sucks, because honestly, it could have been cool had they just done a better job. But had to make Anthem, because that went so well. What do you think? Leave us a comment, let us know. If you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe, don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon, you can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.